So conditions at Wat Pong were very austere in those days, but of course you have to bear in mind the context that conditions for village people were austere, and for the majority of the monks who'd grown up, or almost all of them grown up in poor rice farming families, then the austerity of the monastic life wouldn't have been particularly exacting.
How many monks were there at that point?
In the first few years, maybe 8, 10, 12, not so many. And so the basic requisites of a monk, these to say the things that monks can't live without: the bowl, the robes, a meal every day, a roof, a kuti, something to protect you from the elements, and medicines when you're sick. And even for those basic requisites, it was a bit of a struggle. Let's start off with almsfood. Now, you know from your own experience, although some things have changed somewhat these days, that you go on alms round in the villages of northeast Thailand, and basically you get sticky rice and maybe an odd banana or something, maybe nothing at all. And I'm not quite sure why that was so different from central Thailand, where people are always putting curries and things in your bowl as a matter of course. I think maybe it might be because village people were used to taking curries and whatever, what we call with rice, everything except for rice, to the monastery and offering them there, which in the case of a village monastery, it's very convenient. But if your monastery is in the middle of a forest, about 2 or 3 or 4 kilometers away, you're not going to get so many people going to be walking all the way out there, and often lay people don't really understand, or don't, for some reason, don't consider that you're a forest monk, but you can't just subsist on rice. So there are lots of stories on the austerity of the food in those days. Often the novices, who are not prohibited from picking leaves and digging the earth in the way that monks are, would pick leaves on the way back, and just to supplement the rice. But there are these also, yes, I've not yet mentioned that after I can't remember how many years, in a very short time, that Ajahn Chah's mother, Metta Pim, and a couple of other ladies became nuns, and a nun section was established in the monastery. And so they had a little garden, and they would prepare like chili sauce and things like that, or maybe as the years went by there were mangoes and other things too. But the food would have to be fairly distributed, and even bananas would be chopped up into little slices so that everybody would get a mouthful of banana. And if somebody came and offered a curry or something, it was quite a big deal. So that was the difficulties regards to food and nutrition. Now, as regards cloth and robes, most monasteries these days in Thailand have a huge surplus of robe material, but that wasn't the case in those days. And the sewing of robes was done by hand. There weren't yet sewing machines like when I arrived 30 years ago, the pedal sewing machines. And everybody would help out to sew a robe by hand. It would be a communal activity. And it would be a communal activity in chopping the heartwood of the jackfruit tree and boiling up the dye, the natural dye that was used. So to get one robe, was a kind of a major project for everybody in the monastery. So inevitably you made robes last as long as you possibly could. So there's cotton, usually quite thick cotton robes, coarse cotton robes. If it was the jiwa on this robe, then maybe 3 or 4 years. And if Sangati, then it's the double layer robe, then you'd expect at least twice that time, like 8, 9 years. So you're constantly patching patching robes. And even to find cloth to patch robes not always so easy. Kutis, very, very simple. Bamboo or very basic wood kutis raised up off the above the ground level for protection against wild animals, snakes, particularly snakes and scorpions, and also to catch a bit of a breeze in the hot season. So and things like we would take for granted living in the forest these days of not particularly luxurious things like a flashlight, a torch, candles, and things like that. This didn't have those things. Or I think there was one time when they got offered some torches, and of course once the batteries ran out, then that was the end, because we never got any batteries ever again. You see, candles, they didn't have candles, or very rarely had candles. So you really look after your candle and use it only when you really, really needed it. And the monk Ajahn Chah said if you had to walk to the sala at night time and you didn't have any light, you're walking through a forest with all kinds of snakes, and you just recite in a very loud voice the loving kindness sutta, sabbe satta sukhita hontu, in a very loud voice all the way to the sala, hoping that you're going to frighten away any. So it's tough life in those days.